Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Naruttamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatyo Jaya Mudirayita Nasta Praisva Bhatrasu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamaśloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the 5th canto, chapter 13. Rahugana converses with Jad Bharat. Text number 17. Dair Vanchito Hamsa Kulam Samabhisam Arochaya Shilam Upaiti Vanara Tajati Rashena Sunivritrindriya Parasparo Dvikshana Vimstavadihi. Daivacho hamsa kuram samabhisam Arochayan shilam vasanam Darjadirasena sunivritindiya Parasparo dikshana vimsritavadi Daivachito hamsa kulam samabhisam Arochayan shilamupait Arochayan shilamupait vanasara Dajadrasena sunivitendiya Paraspara vidikshana viprishtapadi. Next one, try please. No one want to try? Okay. Dirasena sunivitendriya Parasparo dikshana vimsritavadi Tararvachinso kamsakulam vasambitam Translation. Being cheated by them, the living entity in the forest of material world tries to give up the association of the so-called yogis, swamis, and incarnations, and come to the association of real devotees. But due to misfortune, he cannot follow the instructions of the spiritual master or advanced devotees. Therefore, he gives up their company and again returns to the association of monkeys who are simply interested in sense gratification and women. He derives satisfaction by associating with sense gratifiers and enjoying sex and intoxication. In this way, he spoils his life simply by indulging in sex and intoxication. Looking into the faces of other sense gratifiers, he becomes forgetful and thus approaches death. Purport. Sometimes a foolish person becomes disgusted with bad association and comes to the association of devotees and brahmanas and takes initiation from a spiritual master and, as advised by the spiritual master, he tries to follow the regulative principles, but due to misfortune, he cannot follow the instructions of the spiritual master. He therefore gives up the company of devotees and goes to associate with similar people who are simply interested in sex and intoxication. Those who are so-called spiritualists are compared to monkeys. Outwardly, monkeys sometimes resemble sadhus because they live naked in the forest and pick fruits, but their only desire is to keep many female monkeys and enjoy sex life. Sometimes so-called spiritualists seeking a spiritual life come to associate with Krishna consciousness devotees, but they cannot execute the regulative principles or follow the path of spiritual life. Consequently, they leave the association of devotees and go to associate with sense gratifiers who are compared to monkeys. Again, they revive their sex and intoxication, and looking at one another's face, they are thus satisfied. In this way, they pass their lives up to the point of death. Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumi Damjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So this is the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is like a bumpy ride. When you are on a gravel road where there is no tar, the car goes like this. So sometimes you go on a smooth road where the road is tarred, and then you feel the comfort. So Srimad Bhagavatam is like that. In the beginning, it gives us a bumpy ride. And then when we come to the end, in the 10th canto, it's like we are on a smooth road. You hear about the pastimes of Vrindavan, the forest of Vrindavan. And then you appreciate more, having gone through the bumpy roads. These bumpy parts of Srimad Bhagavatam reflect our situation in this material road. So as I was explaining before, this chapter, which is chapter 13, is very short, but because it has like really serious instructions, it feels very long. It's only 26 verses. And then from verse 1 up to 8, that's the first part of it. That's the first section. And then now we are in section number 2, which is verses 9 to 26. So in this section, it explains how sometimes a living entity is attacked by snakes. These snakes represents deep sleep. Like I was explaining the other day, that when we used to do books in England long ago, we used to meet very dull people. You just try to give them books, they say, no, I don't read. You try everything, no. And then we devised a plan that this book actually is not a book, it's a medicine which cures your sleeplessness, your insomnia. And then they will want to hear, oh, if you read this book, you fall asleep. Yes. Even in our temples, when we start reading Bhagavatam, people fall asleep. Because it kind of like, it shatters your faculties. So we are inspired by things that have to do with our needs, our interest, something that touches upon our interest, and then we want to hear. Something that touches upon our need, and our ears are open. But Bhagavatam does not really touches upon our material needs and areas of interest, but it deals mainly with our spiritual interest. And in order for Bhagavatam to give us a direction towards the goal of life, which is returning to our spiritual consciousness, it breaks down the walls that surround us. It's just like the enemies, sometimes they fight behind fortifications, big walls. So then you have to shoot cannons and break those walls and get the enemy or get someone to safety. So in a similar way, Bhagavatam is breaking the walls of material existence. Break our attachments mercilessly. Yeah, sometimes when I read it, I said, wow, this is real. So this part explains how the living entity in the forest of material existence is sometimes is attacked by snakes, and it takes shelter of creepers. Of course, sometimes it takes shelter of wolves and jackals in the forest, which are represented by bogus gurus, bogus yogis. Bhagavatam is just slashing everything around us. So that way, it's a very bumpy drive. Yeah, so be prepared for the journey. So here, today, the verse continues. It says that being cheated by them, referring to bogus gurus, the living entity in the forest of material world tries to give up the association of the so-called yogis, swamis, and incarnations, and come to the association of real devotees. But due to misfortune, he cannot follow the instructions of the spiritual master or advanced devotee. Therefore, he gives up their company and returns to the association of monkeys who are simply interested in sense gratification and women. So we see this also, that in the beginning, the jiva may make a vow, no intoxication, we make vows, we all made vows, those who are initiated. No intoxication, no meat eating, no gambling, no tea, coffee, no garlic. Sometimes people become attracted to these things. Because the taste is there. Yeah, it's just there. After some times, it rises, and then the person realizes, I miss these things. Okay, maybe one day. It's like when I was in school, some boys will say, I only drink on Christmas Day. Christmas Day, drinking, what is this? Yeah, because it's a day for happiness. Even we, school kids, can drink. It's cool. I used to think, yeah, it's just funny. So that way sometimes, it's Christmas Day, I can take intoxications. Yeah, it's okay, it's a blessed day. Or it's Diwali. But by the time the living entity realizes he's hooked again. So in that way, the same jiva may go back to associate with people who indulges in such things because his taste has come back. It's a struggle. So the material world means war in the mind, war with the senses, chastity with promiscuousness. Celibacy is fighting with looseness, with intoxications. It is always war. And this war goes on in the mind of the living entity until he dies. Just like there was one, actually I love history because it tells me about people since I was a kid. So in one of the history books, there was one king called Croesus. He was a king of ancient country that is now extinct. This country was called Lydia, next to Assyria. So this king was very successful. He had conquered many kingdoms and collected a lot of booty. His treasure was just overflowing with so many gems which he had collected, and he became more and more confident. So one day, he decided to invite one sage. His name was Solon in Greece. This Solon was a very wise man, but he was very detached. He will instruct the kings but live in the forest outside Athens. He didn't want to live in the city. So many kings used to go to this forest to find him and ask for advice. But this particular king of Lydia, he decided to invite him. Solon came. So when he came, the king had arranged all his courtmen. They were dressed like a king, and everything was just fantastic. And then his treasure, of course, was overflowing. He thought, I will impress this Solon when he come here with my success. Solon came. He was taken around. He saw everything, didn't say anything. So this king was wondering, what's wrong with this man? He's not seeing my happiness. He's not seeing my success. And he asked him, say, I've taken you around, but you didn't say anything. He said, are you okay? Solon said, 100% okay. So, can't you see that I'm happy? Have you ever seen someone happy like me? And Solon said, yes, in my country, Athens, where I come from, there is one man who died fighting for his country. And he left children who held his good name. I considered him happy. And this king became even more irritated. Hey, what's wrong with you? Can't you see that I am the happy person here? So Solon told him that I don't consider those people who are alive to be happy. He said life is like a marathon. Like you see many athletes running the marathon, it's a long kind of distance. race. So he said that until someone finishes, he touches the finishing point, I don't consider that person successful. He said you are still alive. Even though you consider yourself happy and successful, your fortunes may change. He said any person who's alive, his fortune can change. So I don't consider those people happy. I consider someone who is dead, who dies successful, that he is happy. So this king was thinking, this man is eccentric. But he was right. Life in the material world is like a marathon. We should never ever think that we are successful while we are still alive. Of course, that sounds heavy. There won't be any 25th marriage ceremonies, 50th. But actually, he was right, because your fortunes can change. So then, Solon went back to his country, Greece, and this king, after he left, he was thinking that I have not conquered Persia, which is now called Iran. Maybe it's time for me to conquer Persia. So at that time, there was a temple of oracles in Greece, in a place called Delphi. This temple was run by ladies only. And these ladies had the power to see the future. They could tell you how you're going to live in the future. So the temple became very famous. So the king sent his secretary to find out from those priestesses as to how he will fare in the future. So the secretary came and then met one of the pujaris there. One lady told him that you tell your king that this is not the right time to go to Persia. If you go to Persia right now, upon crossing the river into Persia, his army will be ambushed. But he will come out alive. Oh, and then when the king had this message that if he goes to Persia, he will be ambushed, his army will be ambushed, but he will come out alive. He thought that he will conquer. But actually it was not like that. It's just that the secretary didn't ask the ladies exactly what will happen. So he went to Persia. As he was crossing the river with his army, the Persians knew he was coming. They were waiting for him on the other side. They just ambushed them before they landed. And then the king was captured and taken to the king of Persia. So when the king of Persia saw him, he was very happy because they had been enemies for many years. Like this chapter explains in the material world, the living entity experience also torture from enemies. So the king of Persia told his men that you should, as punishment, this king should be burned alive. Yes, they tied firewood around his body, and the king of Persia was sitting there to see him burning. And sometimes we take pleasure seeing enemies perishing in front of our eyes. So then the fire was lit on his feet. When the fire started burning, when he felt the fire, he remembered that he had invited a great person, Solon, from Greece, but did not learn from him. And Solon had told him that you are not successful as long as you are alive, because your fortunes can change. As he was feeling the fire warming his souls, he cried out very loudly, "Oh, Solon, you were right." And this other king heard him calling very loudly. He thought, who is this person this king is calling right at the moment of death? And he told his soldier, put up the fire. I want to hear from this man. Who is this person that he is remembering at the time of death? So then he told him, I was so puffed up with my success. I thought I was perfect. I invited a very wise sage, Solon. He told me I'm not successful because I'm alive. As long as I'm alive, my fortunes can change. Now I'm remembering him because now this is exactly what is happening. Now I'm dying like a criminal, not like a king. He told me that this could happen. So in that way, this is the nature of the material world that is explained here. How believing in the material world, he feels so happy and successful, but his fortunes changes. And then he experiences great miseries. So then upon hearing from this king about the wisdom from Solon, he said, I'm sorry, I was also thinking like you that I'm successful. I've captured you, I need to punish you. But also my fortunes can change. So with one instruction, Solon saved 2 kings. And they all became his disciples later. So in that way, knowledge is more important than all the wealth in the world and all the power that people have. Because we cannot take this power with us. We cannot take our wealth with us. Alexander the Great was one of those people who realized this. When he was dying, because he also went to the same temple, and the ladies told him that you will conquer the entire world, but there's something lingering in your future. He asked them, what is that? They told him, the ladies told him, you will die young, even though you will conquer everyone. He said, no, that won't happen. You are saying that you are seeing me conquering everyone, but at the same time you are telling me that I will die young. No, that is wrong. And it happened. He was not killed by enemies, but he was killed by fever. So, at some point as he was conquering, he got injured. From those injuries, he got infections. They became infectious. From infection, fever. He died of fever. So he employed many advanced doctors in his country, but they could not cure his fever. And then in the end, he gave instructions that when I die, please invite all those doctors who were trying to treat me. They should be the ones that are carrying my coffin. And then in the coffin, my hands should stick out like this as my body will be paraded to the cemetery. And he said, all the wealth that I've collected in my treasure house should be thrown on the road so that people can see that I didn't take anything with me. I'm going empty-handed. So he was giving instructions to his people that this material success, we cannot take it with us. Even though he had conquered so many countries, but he could not take any of that boot that he had looted from those countries. And he was empty-handedly going to the graveyard, which is the last destination for any materialistic person. Yes. Like there's a song where I come from. It's hard to translate it in English, but it says, When there's a funeral, there's a song that the Christian sings that it says, all the things of this world, all the valuable things of this world will end in the grave. In other words, you can't take them with you. So people sing that song during the funeral of the Christians. I always remember that. And there's another song also I used to hear when I was a kid because I come from Christian background. I'm not a Hindu. I just follow Hindu religion, but I was brought up as a Christian. There's one song that says, what God has for me, that is for me. What God does not have for me, that's not for me. I used to hear this song also when I was a kid. What God has for me, that is for me. Like that. I was thinking, yes, it's true. If God has decided to give me something, I will have that. I can only have those things that God has put aside as my quota. Ishavasham idam sharam. Ishopanishad says the same thing. That you should learn to take whatever God has set aside as your quota. Don't encroach upon things that belong to others. Just be satisfied with whatever God has decided for you to have. So that was confirmed by Ishopanishad. That actually we should be satisfied with whatever God has set aside as our quota. Beautiful. What God has for me, that's for me. What God does not have for me, that's not for me. It's for the other person. Yes. So that way, Alexander the Great also understood this. I have conquered so many countries, but look, I cannot take even one diamond with me. I'm going to the grave empty-handedly. So, these are the realizations of great people, Shatpurusha. But small-minded people, Kapurusha, they go to the grave thinking that I will make it. And they come back to this material world life after life, janma after janma, trying to achieve same goals, and they get defeated. This is our situation. So this Bhagavatam is just illustrating or highlighting that point about our material existence. So here, this verse explains how the living unity, after being cheated by bogus gurus in the forest of material world, try to give up the association of those so-called yogis and incarnations and come to the association of real devotees. So it is explained that the manifested embodiment referred to as an incarnation actually is not exactly what people think. The real term is avatar. Incarnation, according to different scholars, actually it has been, this term has been challenged by different scholars of theology. Because incarnation refers to flesh. So some Christian scholars refers to what we call incarnation as imperfect because it refers to flesh, one who appears in flesh. Whereas avatar refers to the mystical appearance of the Lord. So when we say incarnation, it can mean someone who appears in flesh with certain powers. Just like Krishna says, Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 verse 8. Rasoham apsukonteya. That I am the taste in the water. I am the light of the moon and the sun. Pranava sarva vedesu. I am the Pranava Om in the Vedic mantras. He says, I am the ability in man. I am the ability in man also. So ability in man sometimes can confuse us. Just like Prahlad Maharaj. He was fearless in front of Hiranyakashipu. And Hiranyakashipu asked him, by whose power, Prahlad, are you so fearless in front of me? Even the devils, by the blinking of my eyes, they ran into hiding. You're such a small boy. How is it that you are not fearful of me? What Prahlad said, my dear king of the demons, the power by which I'm fearless of you is the same power that you have. That power comes from Bhagavan. It comes from the Supreme Lord. He became more and more and more infuriated by that statement, but it's a fact. All the powers that we have in this world come from the Lord. So Krishna says, I am the ability in man. Even the ability in Hiranyakashipu, that is from Krishna. So in that way, because people are not educated in understanding, so there are different abilities in man. So to be an incarnation is different. Incarnations illustrate abilities differently. Like Matsya, he appears and guides people through challenges. And then Kurma provides unwavering support during the churning of the milk ocean. And then we see that Narasimhadev, when he appears, he displays assertiveness against adversaries, especially against Hiranyakashipu. He shows this power of assertiveness. He's like, asserting himself as the supreme. And then we see Vamana Dev, when he appears, he symbolizes humility. Vamana Dev, when he came to the yagya of Bali Maharaj, he was an emblem of humility and compassion. So, this is avatar. So there is difference between the powers of the avatar and the powers of bogus yogis who they may have some siddhis like Lagima, Mahima, Siddhi, the powers to be able to walk on water, the powers to be able to read people's minds. But that does not make them avatar. So people, when they see someone with certain mystic powers, they conclude that he is God. Because they don't understand what it means, what qualifies one to be an avatar of God. So therefore, the masses of people fall prey to these so-called incarnations or so-called avatars and the yogis who have some mystic powers. So in that way, Today, when people use the term avatar, generally it refers to someone with certain powers. But the word avatar refers to the Lord when He decides to appear in a particular form. So we tend to mistake some ordinary people also as avatars because they display certain powers. And so that's why there are so many incarnations, because people think that these people came or appear in flesh, not because of karma, but out of their own will. That's what they preach like that also. That I just appeared out of my own will. I have willingly come to help you. So these false incarnations, they will have a power, they will have compassion. Yes, they do good work. They have they have qualities like the power to be able to read people's minds. They may have the power to heal certain diseases. Yes. So in that way, there are different abilities that people have which make them look like gods to others. But some of them, they use those mystic powers to attract people so that they can enrich themselves. It's like fishermen. They are the fishermen of people. They are fishing people. There are so many like that. Like there was one like that in America in 1970s, was called Jones. You heard of Jones? So this Jones, he was not a self-manifested bogus guru. So how did he mesmerize people? America is a country of, it's a country of diversity. It's a country also of so much negativity. A country of racism. A country of divisions. So he knew all these things. And then when he founded his society, he said, this is a country of all people, whether you are poor, you are black or white or brown, we are all one. People like the idea. Oh yeah, Jones is cool. So in that way, he attracted many people. But his aim was the pocket of the people. So when people surrendered to him, he began to give them instructions that we want to create heaven and earth. I am the Messiah who have come to create heaven and earth for you. Withdraw your money from your savings into my account for me to fulfill this purpose. And then some people started, giving all their lifelong savings to Jones. And some became a little bit suspicious. Why suddenly this Messiah is asking for our savings? Something is fishy here. And they started, contacting lawyers and authorities. And then the authorities in America realized this guy is a con man. They started, following him to find out exactly how he was conning people. And then in the end, he realized that, no, his tricks will not work here in America. And then he migrated to Guyana. In Guyana, there's a big Amazon forest. So in the forest, he found a place, and then he built himself a small town which he called Jonestown. So then the American authority, they realized that this rascal now is hiding in the bushes. He's still cheating people. He had over 1,000 people from the U.S. with him there. And then the congressman came to check on him in Guyana. So before they came, he instructed his men to have their guns ready, so that when these congressmen from America, when they arrive here, they should not go back alive to America. So then he armed his men. So when the Congress people came, they asked those people, they announced, whoever wants to go back home to America, come with us. We have a space in the aeroplane. Some people wanted to go back. So then this Jones, so-called incarnation, he was just calculating. So when the congressman with other people who wanted to go back to America were boarding the plane, suddenly his people came out from the bushes, started shooting them. Bang, 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 bang. And some people survived. They ran to the bushes. So then Jones got the news so that not everyone died. Some people survived. Oh, we are in trouble now. They will report back to America. And then he decided the second phase of his evil was mass suicide. He instructed all those people. He said, I want everyone to drink poison, even children. So they mixed poison in a big bucket. So everyone was coming as if they are taking Charanamrita. And they were being served in cups. So when people drank that poison, they died en masse. But of course, some also doubted. They pretended as if they were drinking poison and they fell on the ground. They didn't die. So Jones thought that everyone had died, but some were just, they were just sleeping, waiting. And then he shot himself. And then after he shot himself, those who faked dying, they got up. Of course, they reported back to America. That was another kind of a bizarre manifestation of a false Messiah that this world has experienced. There are so many. So that way people are innocent, they are gullible. Why they are gullible? Because they are propelled by their areas of need and areas of interest. Generally, people, they want material prosperity. They want material success. So they need blessings from these swamis and avatars. That's why they flock into those churches and temples where they can get these blessings. But the first thing one has to know, what is a genuine guru? Who is a genuine incarnation or avatar? Otherwise, it's very difficult. So during this time in Kali Yuga, they are thriving, they are everywhere, in every continent. You'll find some false messiah. Yes, and people flocking to his place in numbers and numbers. These are the propensities of Kali Yuga. So people become gullible. So here, also this verse says that the living entity in the forest, sometimes feeling frustrated in association of bogus swamis or so-called swamis, yogis and incarnations, come to the association of real devotees. Yes, that is happening right now in Kali Yuga. That some people, they got sidetracked by the road shows and become misled by the actors in those roadshows in the form of bogus incarnations, bogus swamis, false messiahs. And then after hitting what we call the Victoria Falls syndrome, they awaken and they come back to real people who are representing God. And who is a representative of God? That we will discuss in the next class. How to recognize a genuine guru, a genuine incarnation, etc. Thank you very much. Now time is up. I beg to end here. Any question? Yes, Prabhu. You speak in Germany.
I will translate.
Huh?
I will translate.
Sorry.
He speaks Russian, and I will translate you.
Okay.
Получается, вот этот мир, который Господь создал, Он дал на него и свою искру прямо бхакти.
So the question is that the Lord created this material world, and He gave His sparkle of prema bhakti into this world.
Да, и получается,
Sparkle of prema bhakti.
Yes.
да, и получается, что вот это все вот эти вкусы, помидор, огурцов, я люблю маму, ну все вкусы, это вот это, ну, прямо бхакти поделено вот это искра великолепие.
So it looks like that all taste that we have in material world, like we like tomatoes or we like our parents or something else, that it's this sparkle of prema bhakti which we can feel in the material object.
Если я понимаю, что вот это весь вкус прямо бхакти, ну, то это, наверное, сознание Кришны. Нет, я не вопрос, я просто говорю, что если вот я понимаю, что это весь вкус любви, это прямо бхакти, то это сознание Кришны у меня есть. Ну, типа, я за все благодарю Бога. Ну, давай.
And the question is, if I understand that all of this is prema bhakti, then is it Krishna consciousness?
That's not Prema Bhakti. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that in the material world, the living entity has two propensities. The desire to know and the desire to enjoy. Vichari and Rag. So what we experience as Prema Bhakti is not Prema Bhakti. The living entity who has developed Prema Bhakti he loses taste for material enjoyment. So, but we have the propensity to, which looks like Prema Bhakti, just like if I love cakes. That's not Prema Bhakti. Is cake prema. It's love for cakes. Just love cakes. It has nothing to do with Prema Bhakti. Prema Bhakti is when you are crying in separation from Krishna. Is when you are constantly 24 hours missing the Lord. Is when day in, day out, you are totally absorbed. And as a result, you lose taste for your normal activities. It's just like people in this material world, when they are in love, so-called love in the material world. When they are in love, it's real. Even the pen that you are writing, it looks like that person. Everything. You become so obsessed. When you try to sleep, you are thinking about this person. When you get up in the morning, isn't it? You all know how Maya works. You are thinking about this person. Huh? Why? Because lust has occupied your mind, your senses, and your intelligence. It may seem like Krishna Prema, but it's not. It's Maya Prema. This is the trick of material world. You are thinking about this person day in, day out. Everything about him or her looks perfect. Until one day, you see reality. And then the same person, from being an angel, becomes a monster. And that infatuation goes away. It tends to hate. I hate him. So that's not Prema Bhakti. It's something else. Prema Bhakti does not turn like that. It is always increasing. Adaram maduram hasitam maduram. This Vallabhacharya sang this song that everything about Krishna is sweet, because Krishna is the emperor of sweetness. His smile is sweet, his face is sweet. Even his stealing of yogurt from Mother Yasoda's house is sweet. That's perfect. Love, that's prema. But in the material world, what appears to be sweet, sometimes it turns around to be like poison. And people start hating each other, going to courts. It becomes war. Yes. So this is the nature of the material. That's not prem. In the beginning, it feels like it's prem. Yeah, but and then after some times you realize, no. Yeah, it's like, so things of this world cannot be compared to the love of Godhead or Prem. It's different. It's similar in a sense. We feel that intensity, but it's not exactly the real thing. Yes. Yeah, we feel that intensity in the beginning. After some times, it turns to poison. We feel so bitter. So you feel cheated. You feel abused. You feel exploited. It's just become a torture. You remember all those presents that you used to buy, all the money that you spend in this relationship. It just makes you feel more bitter. But Krishna Prema is not like that. Even when Krishna is stealing from you, you feel the love for Krishna increasing. That's the difference between Krishna Prema and the experiences of this material world. Okay, thank you very much. Spasibo, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki.
Maharaj ki. Maharaj, можно? Translation.
Yes, Prabhu.
Маharaj, я имел в виду, что есть любовь прямо бхакти. Ну, бывает, что...
He said that he wanted to say that his love, Prema Bhakti,
Да, она полная. Но Господь дает искру великолепия на мир материи.
this love, Prema bhakti is like full, and Lord gives sparkle of this love to material world also.
И вот эту вот эту искру, вот это великолепие, ее делят на всякие вкусы. Вкус помидора, это все искра великолепия. Материя, она холодная, там 0,0. И если я беру помидор и кушаю як помидор, то це я в має. А якщо я їм як іскра великолепия Господа, ну, любов Його, то це вже, ну, це іскра прямо.
Matter is like cold, matter is not alive, but this taste that we feel from objects of material world, it's like this taste which Lord gives from the sparkle of Prema Bhakti, and if I taste this tomato and I think that it's Prema Bhakti of Krishna, then my consciousness will be another, not like
Це що нема другого вкусу, є того прямо. Ну я думаю, що це, ну типа, матерія, це я обнімаю, це мама там, а це прямо. Просто я думаю, що...
Yes, I understand what you said.
Okay.
Yes. But that test is given by Krishna.
Yeah.
Yes.
Кое-что
Your
не
is right.
Да-да-да, ну це все.
Тогда мы идем правильно.
For example, in Chaitanya Charitamrita Mahaprabhu says, Prema, love of God is already in the heart of the living entity.
В читании Чайтамрити Господь Чайтанья говорит, что према, любовь к Господу, она всегда находится в сердце.
It just needs to be awakened.
Она должна быть пробуждена.
Ну да, просто ее отмыть. Она есть, надо ее отмыть. Ну типа,
So what you're saying is right.
Поэтому то, что вы говорите,
ну зря ж.
Thank you. Where are you from?
Ukraine. And he also.
Oh, he's from Ukraine.
Yeah.
Okay. How long since you've been here for?
3 years.
At the manor?
Yes, yes. I live in Germany and they come here only for weekends, and we are coming since 3 years.
Okay. Oh, you come, you live in Germany?
Uh,
You are in Germany? You live in Germany?
I live in Germany, yes.
Okay.
It's temporary, like everything in material world.
Temporary means that you have any visa.
I have permission to stay when we have war in our country.
Okay.
We will see.
Yeah, I've been praying for this war to end.